Hey, friend. Welcome back to Hey Wait. I've been thinking about you because, as the writer Anne Lamott would say, life has been awfully lifey recently. And by lifey, I'm talking about the shitstorm that is the news cycle right now. And I don't mean to make light of it by calling it a shitstorm. I just really don't have a more eloquent way of speaking to all the things that are so awful right now that are touching all of our lives. And that's just one layer of what might be lifey for you right now. Because if you're like the people in my life, you might also be moving right now. Or maybe you are dealing day in and day out with a manager who is oblivious but also micromanaging, which is a lovely combination. Um, or maybe you or someone you love recently got a diagnosis and you're trying to figure out what next amidst all the doctor's appointments and your daily life not looking like it used to. Or maybe you're caring for aging parents while you're also raising kids and trying to figure out how to take care of yourself in the middle of all that. Or maybe you have woken up to the ways that you've gotten farther away from yourself than you would like to have in some of the important relationships in your life, and you can't seem to figure out how to get back. And then amidst all of that, there's still the laundry to do and the grocery shopping to do, and there's weeds growing in the yard, and the dog has to be walked, and you're pretty sure you need a new prescription in your glasses because you can't seem to read the numbers on your watch anymore, or maybe that's just me personally, but you get what I'm saying. There are so many layers of lifiness, and none of us are immune to it. And this is why I wanted to make this episode today, because I got a great reminder in a session with a client the other day, and I wanted to share it with you as well. I reached out to her to see if I could share her story, and she was very gracious and generous in saying yes. So, for the sake of this episode, I'm going to call this client Malia. And Malia and I worked together intensively for a year about 4 years ago. And she had reached out to me for help in finding herself in the midst of being a mom to a small child and a wife and a daughter, while also being a very successful professional in a high stress job. And she felt like she had lost her connection to her essential self in the midst of all of that, and wanted to do a deep dive in realigning all of those places. And working with her was an absolute delight. She even came to Ojai and worked with me in person for a few days during that time. And we've stayed in touch through the years, sometimes just to say, how you doing? But also every once in a while, she'll reach out and say, hey, I need a session about this one specific thing. And so a few weeks ago, she reached out to me and said that this seedling of an idea had been growing in her for about a year, that she was ready to step back from not just her job, but maybe even the entire profession that she had picked. And she wanted to take some time off and discern what might the next step look like. And she said over the months, that seedling had started to grow bigger and bigger, to the extent that in the last few months, she was like, I'm pretty dang sure that I am ready to do this. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. And yet, in that time, as she's gotten closer to actually taking the step to leaving her job, the fear has grown so intense. And so when she came to the session, she started naming her fears. She's scared that she's going to take off time from work and all she's going to want to do is lay on the couch, and she's going to do nothing with her time, and she's going to waste it. And then she's not going to find a new job, or she's not going to figure out what's next. And it's going to put a strain on her marriage, and her husband's going to be upset with her. And then it's going to put a strain on their finances, and how are they going to pay their bills? And, even if she does find the thing that she wants to do, what if nobody hires her? Or what if she can't find a job doing that work? And again, that leads to financial ruin, and she doesn't know what to do with herself. But then there's also the fear of, what will my mom think about me? What will my friends think about me? if I walk away from this successful career, what will my colleagues think? They must think I can't hack it. Like, can you feel, listener, all the fears and why? Of course, they're all there. They all make total sense. And so let me tell you, when she was explaining all this to me, I could feel how wound up she was in her fear. And I could also feel in my body as I was sitting here on Zoom looking at Malia on my screen. I could feel in my body how wound up I was getting too. Like there was this part in me that was like, oh shit. We've only got 1 hour and there's all this stuff to work through because I'm listening to it through the different parts that might be showing up, like the parts of her that are scared of the financial piece and the parts of her that are scared of what people are going to think of her and the parts of her that are scared that she's just going to be lazy and not ever want to work again in her life. And I'm thinking there is no way I'm going to be able to help with all these things. And I start to feel my own system go into my list of fears of what if I can't help her with this? What if we get to the end of this session and she hasn't had any of her questions answered and it all still feels awful? And then she's going to feel like she wasted her money and she's going to be upset with me. And like, can you get where I'm going here? Now you've got two people completely consumed by fear. And so I did what I know to do in those moments, which is I asked her what's going on in her body as she's explaining that. And she said, she's tight in her chest, tight in her throat. She feels wound up energetically. And because she's been doing this work for long enough, and she's very wise and very connected to herself, in that moment, she said, hey, wait, I need to sit on the floor. She was sitting at her desk in a chair and she was like, I just need to put my body on the floor. And so she picked up her laptop. She sat it on the floor. She sat cross-legged like somebody would sit if they were meditating. She put her hands on her lap and she was kind of stroking her hands down her thighs like a self-soothing, grounding sort of motion. And she immediately took a deeper breath, just being on the floor. And so I said, let's take this opportunity to not talk at all for a little bit. I want you to just rock your body side to side and feel your weight transfer from one sit bone to the other. And as she did that, I could see she took another deep breath. And I remembered that she had really liked when we worked together this one bit of imagery. So I said to Malia, I said, right now, as you're rocking from one sit bone to the other and feeling your hands on your thighs, I want you to also feel that it's not just the floor that's underneath of you that you're sitting on, but it's also the ground. And not just the ground, but it's also the entire planet. There's like 6,000 miles of earth underneath of you. And when I said that, it was like watching this frenetic fear energy drain out of her body down into the ground. And I let her sit that way for a little bit. And she got a smile on her face and she was like, I'm back. So before I share more about that story, I want to see if you also felt that while I was just saying that right now, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whether you're in your car or you're standing at the sink washing your dishes or you're walking around your neighborhood with the dog, I want you to see if you can feel that there isn't just the ground underneath of you or the floor underneath of you, but underneath of that, there's a whole planet. There's thousands of miles of earth underneath of you, and you're completely and fully supported by that. Gravity holds you to it. The weight of your body is fully supported. And I want you to see what that feels like in the sensations in your body. Also, to notice, does it make you take a deep breath? Does it make your shoulders drop? Does it make something unclench? And if so, invite that feeling in a little bit more consciously. Let it be here. Because the thing that happened for Malia in that moment was that absolutely zero changed about her external world and all the factors that she was concerned with. But absolutely everything changed about how she felt inside of all of that and how she felt inside of herself. And when I asked her what the feeling was, she said it was calm, that she felt peaceful. And I agreed that that's what it felt like to be with her. But I also said, my experience of you right now, Malia, is that you feel trusting, that you feel trusting of yourself, and that you feel trusting of the wider world in general, that as you take each step along the way, you'll have what you need. You'll have the inner resources, you'll have the relational resources. And even if it doesn't go the way that you hope and dream it will, you're you'll be okay because you have you. And so, listener, I shared that story about Malia because, one, I really wanted you to be able to feel into that moment where she got on the ground and all of that stress dissipated from her body. And I wanted to be able to offer you the opportunity to feel your feet on the ground and the planet underneath of you, and to maybe just possibly have a moment where you got a deep breath and life didn't feel so lifey for a little bit. But I also share that story because that moment where Malia said, "Hey, wait, I I have to sit on the ground. I got to get out of my desk chair. I have to sit on the floor," was a moment where she recognized through the sensations in her body that her nervous system was dysregulated and she needed to attend to that first. Because this is a skill that I want you to be able to have as well. And the way that you recognize the state that your nervous system is in is by tracking the sensations that are happening in your body. And that's because your nervous system is first and foremost physiological instead of psychological. So if you're trying to analyze your thoughts or, kind of think your way through something, it's not going to be as powerful a way to meet yourself at the level of your nervous system as it is to simply look for sensations. So I want to go through the 4 different main stress responses: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, and how you would recognize them in your body, in your behavior, and in your thoughts. Because for those of you who this is new for, I think it'll be helpful and clarifying to break down these different experiences so that you can recognize them in yourself. And I don't think you're going to have to analyze very hard to find yourself in this. All you're going to have to do is, as I'm describing these different states, feel for them in your own body, because I would imagine they're recognizable. So, fight. The fight response is one where your nervous system is activated and ready for a fight. But whether or not you're literally going to fight, what you're going to feel in your body, most likely, the sensations you'll find if you're tracking them, is your jaw will be tight. Oftentimes people say their fists are unconsciously clenching, or they have tension in their shoulders or their arms. And more often than not, people will report that fight energy has heat to it, like they get hot. In terms of behavior, if your nervous system is in fight mode, you might be acting in a controlling way, or you might be being defensive, or you might be kind of snappy and pissy with your answers to the person around you. And in terms of what you might be thinking, you might find yourself thinking things like, this isn't fair, or I have to protect myself, or I have to protect someone else, or I need to prove my point, or I need to be right here. So can you feel that as a full experience there of what's happening in your body, how you might be behaving, what you might be thinking? That is how you recognize fight. When it comes to flight, the energy is activated again, as if you were going to run away. But even if you're not literally running away, flight energy for you is going to feel like you're restless, like you're buzzy, like there's just a lot of energy in your body. You're wired, almost like you had 3 cups of coffee and you're just buzzing. In terms of behavior in flight, it's going to be hard for you to sit still. You're going to be staying busy. You're going to be overworking. You're going to be multitasking. You're going to be stress cleaning, right? Like there is going to be no part of you who feels like you can just sit down and be calm. If you are sitting though, because let's say you're at work and your nervous system is in flight, you might notice that your legs are jumpy or you're tapping your feet. There's just this sense of I have to keep moving. And in terms of your thinking when you're in flight, you are catastrophizing. Everything is the worst it's ever been and it's gonna turn out bad. You're also over planning as a way of trying to mitigate that catastrophe that you are sure is going to come. And another common thought when you're in flight mode is, I'll just do it myself, right? Everybody else is too slow and they're not going to get it done right. And the catastrophe might happen if you don't just do it yourself. So I'll just do it myself. Freeze is the opposite. Your energy is going to drop way low. This isn't an activation. It's more of a deactivation. It's like everything powers down. So you would feel, if you were tracking sensations in your body and you were in the freeze state, you would feel numb. You would maybe feel heavy, like just like there's a heaviness on your body or your body itself feels heavy. You might notice that you feel collapsed, like your shoulders and your chest want to cave in. Like there's just no energy in your body. Like if somebody lifted your arm and dropped it, it would just drop heavy. In terms of your behavior when you're in a freeze response, most likely you're isolating because when you're in freeze, you really don't want to be around people. Or if you are around people, you're isolating by really withdrawing into yourself. You might also find that you procrastinate, like you just want to lay around and do nothing, that you're avoiding decisions or you're having a hard time making decisions. Because when you're in a freeze response, in terms of your thought process, you're often experiencing brain fog where you can't even have a clear thought if you tried, which makes making decisions difficult, which means you would be experiencing indecision, not knowing what to do or say. And you might be thinking in your head thoughts like, what's the point? Or I just can't. I can't even. So that's freeze. And that brings us to fawn. And fawn is interesting because physiologically it's a mix between flight and freeze, which means that you're externally doing a lot in order to maintain a sense of connection and okayness. But internally, you're disconnected from yourself. So if you were trying to track the sensations in your body and recognize fawn, what you might experience is that sped up, buzzy, kind of frenetic energy on the outside while also feeling numb to your insides. Or you might experience it as just kind of this overall tension where you notice, for example, that you might have a bright exterior where you're smiling, even though it's a fake smile, but inside you're locking everything down so you don't feel anything. There's a sense of being hyper alert to what's going on outside and very much not connected to what's going on inside. In terms of behavior and fawn response, you would recognize it that through things like people pleasing, over explaining yourself or over apologizing, and fundamentally though, you would recognize it as you ignoring your own needs, you suppressing what you need in a situation in order to keep the peace. And in terms of what are the thoughts that go along with the fawn response, often it would be things like, are they okay? What do they need? I don't want to upset that person. I'm fine. So if you notice that kind of thinking along with people pleasing, over explaining, and feeling that kind of hyper alertness while also being dead inside, ding, 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 you've discovered fawn response. So hopefully, as I shared what those feel like in your body, how you might be behaving, how you might be thinking, you start to recognize yourself in some of those. And here's the thing. There isn't just one that you will have. All of us have all of the stress responses at different times. They just tend to be context specific. For example, you might never dream of having a fight response at work where you would be a little pissy or short with people, or you might bring contempt to a situation. But that does, much to your dismay, show up in personal settings in your life or with your family. Conversely, you might fawn a lot in your personal life and you find you're people pleasing with your neighbors and your friends and your family. But when you get to work, you actually have really clear boundaries. And if you're going to have a stress response at work, it's going to be more like flight, because you're going to be in hard charging, go, go, go mode and never stop. So it's not that one is better than the other or you're only one or the other. It's that you have all of them, all of these stress responses, but they are typically fairly context specific. And the point in being able to recognize the one that you're in isn't about being able to get yourself back to calm, because fuck that sometimes, right? Sometimes it's not about, like it happened with my client Malia, that you just get on the floor, you take a deep breath, you feel the ground underneath of you, and you're like, oh, I'm back to calm. Sometimes that's not possible. What is the point, though, is giving yourself a sense of having increased agency, that you know, oh, I am getting hijacked right now by my nervous system, and I need to do something to get myself back. I need to address these sensations in my body and give my nervous system messages of safety so that I can start to get back towards a sense of being in myself again. So this is where Hey Wait as a tool comes back in. And that is throughout your day to say to yourself, hey, wait, what's my body doing right now? What does it feel like in my body? Tracking sensations. And then being able to pair them up with, oh, I feel buzzy and anxious and I haven't stopped moving all day long. It's like I've had 5 cups of coffee. I'm probably in flight mode. Or I notice that I'm pissy and my teeth are clenched and I'm kind of hot and I want to pick a fight. Then you're in fight mode. And being able to name the state might make your behaviors and your thoughts make more sense to you, where you can say to yourself, oh, of course I feel pissy and like I want to pick a fight with somebody. My nervous system is telling me that's what's true right now. And actually, I'm realizing now as I say that I didn't address why your nervous system might be in one of these states. It would be in one of these states because your nervous system is not perceiving safety. It is instead perceiving danger or threat. And the key word here is perceiving, because it might not actually be that you are in danger. It might just be that you perceive you're in danger. So at work, it's not just you have to get up and give a presentation in front of a huge room of people. It could be that you have unclear expectations from your manager and you don't know what to do, or you're being micromanaged, or you're about to have a review with your manager. These aren't situations that are inherently dangerous or threatening, but your nervous system might find them that way. And then socially, if you have to have a difficult conversation, or if you're currently in one of those places in one of your close relationships where things just feel off and you're not having that cozy, connected feeling like you normally have, your nervous system might read that as dangerous. And then there's the things like finances. Do you have bills sitting on your desk that you have no idea how you're going to pay them? And then even more basic than that are, did you sleep well last night? Have you had too much caffeine? Have you not had enough water or not enough food? All of those things also will give signals to your nervous system about whether your whole system, whether you are in a state of safety or not. So the triggers can be physical, they can be emotional, they can be mental, they can be relational, they can even be hormonal, depending on what's happening in your hormones. Because, fun side note, for those of you listening who are in perimenopause or menopause, when estrogen levels decrease in your body, as they do as you go through perimenopause, it makes it more difficult for your nervous system to be regulated. Doesn't that just make the wonderland of perimenopause even more fun to visit? So all that to say, there's lots of different things that could be signaling to your nervous system that it needs to go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And it's your job throughout your day to be able to say, hey, wait, what state is my nervous system in? And what's the best way for me to give it some messages of I'm okay, I'm safe, I have agency here, I have choice, I have control. Because man, does a nervous system love control. And if it can't access control through a sense of being safe and secure and thriving, then it will access it through one of the stress responses that is about surviving: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And I'm hoping through what I've shared today that you can start to appreciate how many things in your life are giving messages of perceived danger and threat. And how, if you are in one of those states, given the behaviors and the thoughts and the feelings that will be happening in your body, why you wouldn't necessarily be having a good experience of yourself, or why, like my client, you wouldn't be able to manage all of the different things that are coming up because your system is so stirred up that you can't find clarity, or because your system is so on lockdown or frozen that you can't find a clear thought or a clear way forward. And I imagine the question you probably have now is, well, what do I do once I say, hey, wait, to myself and I recognize the state that I'm in? And there are so many different answers to this, so many different ways that you could regulate your nervous system, especially dependent on what state your nervous system is in. Because, for example, if you're activated in fight or flight, your way to try to regulate yourself might not be sitting still and meditating. And similarly, if you're in freeze mode and you feel lazy and you just want to lay on your couch in your sweatpants, you're probably not going to try and regulate your nervous system by going for an intense hike. It's just too big of a discrepancy between where you are and where you're trying to get to. Rather than making this episode really long and going into all the different ways that you can meet yourself and regulate your nervous system, I want to let you know that I have multiple online classes available on my website at jmoonfields.com, where you can go and learn all kinds of different ways to start meeting yourself at the level of your nervous system, regulating yourself, creating more of a baseline of a sense of safety in your system, so the little things don't set you off in the same way that they might be doing now. So if you are interested in doing a deeper dive into how do you meet yourself after that hey wait moment, then I highly recommend you go to jmoonfields.com, look at the online courses, particularly yours truly, because it has 50 short videos and a workbook that take you through all of the tips and tools and insights you need to be able to have a good experience of yourself and like who you are in the small and the important moments in your life. And if you use the code HeyWait, you get $100 off the course. So it's just $148. And again, you find that by going to my website, which is jmoonfields.com, and then to online courses and yours truly using the code HeyWait. But for now, in terms of the bite-sized thing I want to offer you is I want you to think back to that moment that happened for Malia, where she said, hey, wait, I feel what's going on in my body. It's bananas in there. I need to get my body on the ground. And I want you to think about what you know in your life is a immediate state change for you. For example, a lot of people respond really powerfully to water. So it might be that you love getting in a bathtub and that just melts away your freeze or melts away your frenetic energy. Or maybe you love swimming in the ocean or going down the street to the Y and getting in the pool and swimming laps. There's something about immersing your body in water that is literally a state change for you. Other people, it's music. It's turning on music that's loud or thumpy or soft and soothing, or brings back a memory from back when you were in college with your bestie out dancing the night away. But that you're choosing music that you know, if I put this on, I will feel different at the end of this. Especially if you're someone like me who tends to listen to podcasts all the time and more words, it can be really, really helpful to intersperse that with at least just a couple of songs, because music has this incredible way of shifting energy. Or it could be for you more a physical thing, like shaking your body, just getting up and actually moving your limbs, shaking your shoulders, shaking your head. I think of that as like the Etch-a-Sketch moment where I'm just like, this scribble that is happening all over the inside of my body just needs to be erased, and I shake it out. Or the thing that gets you the immediate state change might be getting outside. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. If you just open your door and take a breath of fresh air, does that do it for you? Or going out to sit on a bench in a park, or sit in your backyard, or going through a walk in your neighborhood and checking out what's happening in everybody's gardens and meeting the neighborhood cats. Like, what are the ways that you come back to, if not calm, a sense of, I'm here, at least I'm here. And in this moment, I'm okay. And maybe in this moment, I can also feel that I am just a speck on this giant planet and I am being supported. And there are forces at play that I don't understand. And I can trust myself that no matter what happens, I'm going to be here with myself. And whether or not it's what I would want, I'll be okay. This is what I'm looking for here. Because when life gets lifey, the most important thing you can experience is your own felt presence. So before I send you out into whatever the rest of your day holds, I want to give you the opportunity to take a breath with me again, to feel yourself, to feel your feet on the ground, to feel the temperature of the air on your skin, whether you're inside or outside, to maybe even put your hand on your chest as a way of saying to yourself, I'm here, maybe offering yourself some empathy. Of course, you've been extra stressed recently. Why wouldn't you be, given all that's going on? Because I'll come back to this sentiment that I've shared a number of times over the last 5 years or so, which is, I don't believe that what our world needs right now is more brilliant minds. I believe that what our world needs right now is more regulated nervous systems. Because as you know, or as you've learned today, the more regulated your nervous system, the more relational you can be, the more you can see possibility and have the clear mind to find your way to new possibilities, the more you can be gentle on yourself and another human being. And the more your nervous system can be regulated, the more you co-regulate with the people around you. So hopefully you're feeling a little more regulated, having listened to this little love note from my nervous system to yours. And if that's the case, savor that for yourself, but also know that the person that you interact with next is going to benefit from that. And as we come to a close here, if there's someone that keeps coming to mind for you as you've been listening and following along with me today, take a moment and share this with them, because they're coming to mind for a reason and they might just need this very thing today. And I hope this was also what you needed today. And I hope that you remember to make use of Hey Wait as a way of tracking what's happening in your body throughout your day so that you can meet yourself and give yourself what you need more often. I really appreciated getting to be here with you, speaking into your ear. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to bringing you some really cool interviews in the next couple weeks. So I'll see you soon. Thank you so much, listener, for being here today. I hope something resonated with you and helps you to have a good experience of yourself in your life and your relationships, because you really do deserve that. And if someone came to mind while you were listening today, could you take a moment and share this episode with them right now? And if you haven't had a chance to yet, please leave a review for Hey Wait, because both of those things help new people find the show. And it means a lot to me to be able to reach and connect with new people around this work. With that, if you have an idea for a guest or a topic, or you have a question for me, feel free to reach out to me at Hey Wait with Jay on Instagram. Hey Wait is produced by Viv at First Click VA, and the original music is by Dalton Grant. And hey wait, before we go, I want you to remember, your insights matter, and the right people will meet you there. So stay with yourself. And I'll see you next time.